Open is nuts.
Open is next. Hey, what's up, everybody? I see community meetings still on. Hello, Jesse. What up? Hi. Maricelaro? Ryan, SML, Interactive, SML. November yet? No, it is not November, but it does feel like August in LA. Hey, what's up, Jazz? Hi, President Cunning. We're getting ready to shoot the Open. We're going to be leading with Iran today. The strikes on energy facilities continue. And if you notice, the price at the gas pump continues to get higher too. So we're going to be talking about how all that relates to what we're seeing between President Trump, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, this strike on a natural gas facility that Qatar shares with Iran. So yeah, confusing stuff. We're going to try to break it down. Okay, I'm going to shoot this real fast and then we will chat. Hey, James. Okay.
Stand by.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight, with energy fields becoming what seems to be the new front in this war with Iran and oil prices touching $119 a barrel at one point today, the White House is downplaying fears of a full-blown energy crisis. All right, well, the question now is, nearly 3 weeks into this war with Iran, how long will the damage to energy infrastructure last? Then that Alabama college student gone missing in Spain has been found dead on a beach in Barcelona. Now investigators are racing to figure out what happened. Plus, ABC canceled the upcoming season of The Bachelorette after video leaked of its star attacking the father of one of her kids. And NASA is modifying its moon landing plans as that massive Artemis rocket heads back to the launch pad, all in preparation for sending humans back to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years.
Nice.
Does that work? All right.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so now we edit, we put that thing together, and we get ready for the show. Show starts in 10 minutes. Gas is $3.94, $3.64 last night. James, that sounds comparatively like a great deal, at least to people here in California. I was up in San Francisco this morning. It was $6 at the gas station that we were at. $6. Crazy, right? Hello from Delaware. Hello, Delaware. Hello, Max. Great show coming up. Hey, what's up, Lise? How's it going? Wait, is Lise in here? Let's see. No, Lise isn't here, but that's okay. Lise is here in heart and in the chat. Want to retape it? Was there a problem? Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, Twitch is fired up too. What's up? Hi. How's it going? Hello from the Bay Area. This is your future president of the United. Wow, great to see you. I was just in the Bay Area, and that place trips me out every single time I'm up there. We were doing a Future of Everything tech story. We'll tell you more about it a little bit later, but it was wild. It was like this really meta moment. Not meta, the meta, but had an Uber ride that was sketchy. Like, car kind of smelled of, and I got in and wasn't paying attention, just on my phone. And then, like, next thing you know, the guy was like, I don't get nervous with bad driving, but I was nervous. I was very nervous. And finally we get to the hotel and I'm like, oh, thank God, like, I made it. I was a little bit scared. I actually, like, pulled up the Uber app and I was like, should I report this? Like, what do I do if something happens? But we get there and I'm like, all right, thanks, bye. And then I get out and then I, boom, like, hit 5 stars and then leave a tip. And then I'm like, wait, I was scared in there. Like, what, should I report him? Wait, no, I'm not gonna do that because then he'll ding my Uber rating. And then I was like, on the elevator up to my room, I'm like, what is, this is a Black Mirror episode. Like, I've been conditioned to think about all these things and kind of not even consider, like, how I was feeling in the Uber and all these. It was weird. So I thought about that a lot. This morning, I had to go to the shoot, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna walk. I'm not gonna Uber. So it was about a mile, but I walked. And you see a lot as you walk through downtown San Francisco. Saw all the, all right, here we go. To be continued on this story.
Stand by.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight, with energy fields becoming what seems to be the new front in this war with Iran and oil prices touching $119 a barrel at one point today, the White House is downplaying fears of a full-blown energy crisis. The question is when, and now, nearly 3 weeks into this war with Iran, how long is the damage to energy infrastructure going to last? Then that Alabama college student gone missing in Spain has been found dead on a beach in Barcelona. Now investigators are racing to figure out what happened. Plus, ABC has canceled the upcoming season of The Bachelorette after video leaked of its star attacking the father of one of her kids. And NASA is modifying its moon landing plans as that massive Artemis rocket heads back to the launch pad, all in preparation of sending humans back to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. Okay, all right, where were we? Let's see. Yes, Uber moment 5-star. Okay, so there I was this morning, like sketched out by the whole Uber experience, and just trying to, wrap my mind around San Francisco, bobbing and weaving through the sidewalks there, and then I like look around, and it is I don't know if it was like when the Waymos and some of those autonomous fleets were being released into the streets between shifts or something, but I saw probably like within the matter of 10, 15 minutes, hundreds of autonomous cars without drivers. There was more autonomous cars on the streets without drivers and without anybody in them than people. And then all of a sudden, like flocks of kind of coding engineer-looking dudes with the backpacks with the logos on them. It felt like an episode of Silicon Valley. They were going by on the Lime bikes and the scooters, and everybody had those little like scooters, and it was crazy. And then we went and did the story, and I don't want to give too much away, but it had to do with robots and robots being used to make life better, but also potentially take life. Yeah, weird stuff. So my head's in a weird place today. But how are you guys? How's your day going? Bartlett TFD. Very enjoyable, informative. Oh, thanks. And the show hasn't even started. In about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, Stay Tuned Now starts on the NBC News Now network. And that's my show. And we are going to be talking about everything that's happening in Iran. We're going to be talking about The Bachelorette being canceled. We're going to be talking about, oh my gosh, my favorite story today is about this guy down in Australia. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but his dog had cancer. And he was told that she did not have long to live. So what does he do? Turns to AI, gets her DNA sequence and starts comparing the good parts of her DNA to the cancerous parts of her DNA. Cross-references, AI does the help, hooks up with some scientists. They make an mRNA vaccine. She is now doing much, much better. So yeah, that's going to be in the show as well. Let's see. Very nice. Play strong. Thanks, Jazz. It's 1953 all over again with what happened to Iran. A little different. Most of this was democratically elected. Yeah, there was a CIA overthrow. Yeah, it was different, but interesting. Hey, bom dia, Oliveira. What's up, Jay? How's it going? Thanks so much for the note the other day. You were the man. That was really, really sweet. Where's Lisa? She's recovering, but she was in here just a second ago. Let's see. Okay, so we got about a minute before the show starts. I'm just gonna go over this. Oh, I forgot to do that TikTok thing. Oh well. Oh well. I'm not gonna lie. You know, there are some that want this stream to blow up and become very, very big. I like how cozy it is right now. Yeah, we got like 100 people on TikTok, 200 on YouTube right now. I don't know how many on Twitch, but that's pretty awesome. This is a manageable, chat.
30 to some.
We've got thousands and thousands watching on the big TV, but this is where the family hangs. Starting at G? Okay. All right, so we are 20 seconds away. If you're just tuning in, this is Stay Tuned Now on NBC News Now. And in 15 seconds, our show is going to start. So what's going to happen is I'll be down here in this picture-in-picture. Then the show will happen live right here. And then in the commercial breaks, we'll be able to talk. But here's the show. Ready? Here it comes. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight, with energy fields becoming what seems to be the new front in this war with Iran and oil prices touching $119 a barrel at one point today, the White House is downplaying fears of a full-blown energy crisis.
I thought it would be worse, much worse actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
The question is when, and now. Nearly 3 weeks into this war with Iran, how long is the damage to energy infrastructure going to last? Then that Alabama college student gone missing in Spain has been found dead on a beach in Barcelona. Now investigators are racing to figure out what happened. Plus, ABC has canceled the upcoming season of The Bachelorette after video leaked of its star attacking the father of one of her kids. And NASA is modifying its moon landing plans as that massive Artemis rocket heads back to the launch pad, all in preparation of sending humans back to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. Hey, good evening. We start with the war in Iran and the escalating assaults on the global energy supply. Tonight, the fallout is still reverberating throughout the Middle East after Israel struck the South Pars gas field. That is the biggest facility of its kind here on Earth and jointly owned by Iran and U.S. ally Qatar. Now, Iran retaliates against oil facilities in Qatar, the UAE, and then this one in Saudi Arabia. And then President Trump stressing that the United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and then warning Iran that if they don't stop attacking our ally, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or never witnessed before. Trump elaborating even more in the Oval Office earlier today.
Have you talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields?
Yeah, I did. I did. I told him, don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. You know, we do, we're independent, we get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion, he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
Okay, so that distance or whatever he is describing there between the United States and Israel happening while there are strikes and violence in nearly every corner of the region. Just take a look at what happened when an Israeli missile explodes in Lebanon near a British journalist reporting for Russian state broadcaster RT. Both the journalist and his photographer survived. The IDF says it issued a warning for that area before the strike. Meanwhile, the Pentagon says the U.S. has hit over 7,000 targets across Iran. And we are once again hearing that today's attacks will be the largest strike package yet, all while the United States military's future in the Middle East remains very unclear.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
And let's get out to NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons reporting live from Saudi Arabia tonight. Keir, good to see you. More strikes against energy centers in the region, aggression, so many of these strikes, and yet still some restraint because there is a lot still standing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily feel like restraint if you're in one of the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, here where I am. And it's difficult to tell, you know, Gary, because is it the way that the US and Israel have managed to degrade Iran's capability, or is it that Iran is holding back? I mean, that's something that's extremely difficult to judge. Certainly there has been a reduction in strikes over the past few weeks, but then an increase, a step change a little bit in the past few days. What I can tell you is that leaders here are furious, and particularly, for example, that there were Iranian missiles fired on the capital of Saudi Arabia, where I am, Riyadh, just as the Saudi foreign minister had invited other foreign ministers here for emergency meeting. I was able to ask him about that afterwards. Take a listen.
To me, it was clear that the attack today was timed to coincide with this meeting in order to attempt, I don't know, to intimidate those present, to send home the message that Iran will not stop. All I can say is we were not intimidated.
Gary, one of the multiple ways in which this war is showing up as what war scientists, if you like, would call an escalation trap is that these countries now in the Gulf are looking at Iran and thinking, well, how are we going to accept an Iran in the future that still has ballistic missiles, still has drones, still has the capability to, in effect, close the Strait of Hormuz and control energy prices around the world, even if it is weakened. And therefore, many of those leaders here are saying we have to have an end to this, not just quickly, but an end that we can be satisfied with, comfortable with.
And Keir, today, some of our allies, including the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Japan, they all said that they're ready to, quote, support appropriate efforts to restart shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Can you just translate the diplomat speak there? What does that mean?
Yeah. Stop fighting, and then we might come and help to safely escort those ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Problem, of course, with that approach is that the reason why the ships aren't passing through the Strait of Hormuz is because of the fighting. I mean, effectively, people are looking at this and asking themselves the question, is the chasm that has opened up between the United States and some of its allies and partners, particularly in Europe, is that having an impact on the decisions that are made? Is a country like the United Kingdom, country like France, looking at the situation, worrying that, for example, that an attempt to safeguard tankers in the Strait of Hormuz won't work and will end up with an escalation, worrying that they might not want to get involved in that? I mean, those are the kind of diplomatic decisions that are being made. Certainly the Europeans are looking for de-escalation.
And Keir, we're told so much of this was about destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities, and we haven't talked about that for days. What's the latest on the uranium stockpile?
Yeah, the Prime Minister of Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying just today that Iran no longer has the capability to enrich uranium, can no longer produce ballistic missiles. I have to say, if you're in one of the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, or I am now, the missiles and the drones keep coming. But there's another question, which I think is what you're pointing towards, Gary, and that is where is the highly enriched uranium that Iran had before this war? And it is thought, at least some of it is in Isfahan, likely buried by the previous war, the bombing then. But it is an important question, because just think about what happens if Iran ends up ungoverned in some way. What happens if a rogue group take over the leadership, or even if it splits? Where does that 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium end up? Those are the kinds of issues that they will be thinking about very seriously in the White House, in the Trump administration. I think that is one of the reasons why we are hearing this talk about boots on the ground. Is it going to be necessary to send special forces in to try to get hold of that enriched uranium now? And frankly, is that even possible? Certainly what we are hearing tonight, NBC News, is that two people familiar with the decision say that the more than 2,000 US Marines who are set to come to this region will now be deployed in the coming days. That is much quicker than had been expected. And I think, again, it is an indication of the escalating nature of this war, Gary.
NBC's Keir Simmons, thank you so much. And the war being felt here at home more and more each passing day, especially at the gas pump. The national average hitting $3.88 a gallon today. That big jump from 1 month ago, with the price of crude oil and diesel skyrocketing as well. Here's how Trump framed it a little bit earlier.
Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, you know, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
And let's get out to the White House, where NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is standing by. Gabe, Trump said he thought the economy would be doing worse by now, but is the White House doing a lot to lower gas prices?
Well, certainly, Gotti, it's on their mind. The vice president yesterday saying that the administration acknowledged that these prices were high and were doing everything they could to, stop the rise in prices, but also that they would be down before too long. Now, today, the Treasury Secretary said that the U.S. may actually lift sanctions on Iranian oil that's already in transit amid those surging energy prices. And he said that move could free up 140 million barrels of oil. Now, separately, Gotti, the Energy Secretary said that the administration will not restrict U.S. exports of oil or natural gas. Gotti.
Interesting. And Trump's back and forth about not knowing anything about the South Pars strikes and then telling Benjamin Netanyahu, don't do that. What is true there? And also, what can we glean from that whole back and forth?
Well, the back and forth is fluid, isn't it? Today we heard Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that Israel did that alone, that Israel did not drag the U.S. into this war. That made the point that he's made before, that you don't really tell Donald Trump to do anything. And that's also what we heard from the president here at the White House, that he did not know about that strike on that oil and gas field. However, according to a U.S. official familiar with the matter, Israel did give the U.S. a heads up. So behind the scenes, there is some conflicting information about exactly how much the U.S. knew about the strike. But bottom line, at least for now, President Trump is making the case that it was not his call, that he didn't know about it, and that he has asked Netanyahu not to do it again, Gotti.
Interesting. And do we know how much this war has cost the United States so far?
Well, it's definitely a moving target at this point. Now, the Pentagon does say that within the first week or so of the war, it cost the U.S. about a little bit more than $11 billion. That's just the first week. And now the president is also confirming that the Pentagon will be asking Congress for about $200 billion in funding for this war. Unclear exactly what that number will end up being, but here's what we heard from the Secretary of Defense about this earlier today.
As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded.
Now, certainly that funding request will likely face some skepticism in Congress, especially with these rising gas prices. Those prices up, about 90 cents since the start of this war. Unclear, though, Gotti, whether Republicans, even skeptical ones early on, will eventually break with the president or whether they'll continue to back his decision to attack Iran. Gotti.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, there was this viral moment that a lot of people are talking about today with the Prime Minister of Japan in a meeting with President Trump. Let's take a listen to some questions here.
Why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So
one thing, you don't want to signal too much. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
And Gabe, you hear the laughter there. Some people laugh. Other people, they saw that and they were deeply, deeply offended. And yet, if you see and you watch what happens in the Oval Office frequently, it starts to feel like this isn't necessarily a bug. It's more of a feature of the president's style of diplomacy, no?
Well, look, it was certainly an awkward moment, to say the least, Gotti. I was looking at the video right there and trying to see the Prime Minister's reaction to that. She kept a straight face, and you did hear a smattering of, chuckles, perhaps, nervous laughter in the room. Look, this is something, and I've been in the Oval Office. I wasn't in the Oval Office for this meeting today, but I was earlier in the week for his visit with bilateral meeting with the Irish leader. And this often happens with President Trump. He dominates the conversation. Reporters will ask him questions. Sometimes there are controversial topics that he discusses, and you see the leader next to him perhaps looking a little bit uncomfortable, not wanting to answer the question. Now, there is a traveling press pool from the other countries. That question you heard there was from a Japanese reporter. And earlier in the week, for example, with the Irish leader, President Trump said something about his views on immigration, something that the Irish leader would disagree with. His press pool wanted to get in there and ask a question and get his response to it. What these leaders have pretty much adopted is to try and not make any news in these bilateral meetings. Let President Trump have the floor. Certainly this question and answer and what the president intended to be a joke got a lot of attention today on a very difficult subject to joke about, Pearl Harbor, of course.
NBC's Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. Gabe, thank you. And with the war now spreading into Lebanon, the UN is reporting that over 1 million people have been displaced. And as ongoing strikes continue between Israel and Hezbollah, Ralph Sanchez gives us the very latest from Beirut.
An apartment building crumbles in central Beirut as Israel pounds Lebanon's capital with the most intense bombardment since the start of the war. The IDF says it was targeting the financial assets of the Iranian-backed militia Hezbollah and issued a warning before the early morning strike. We visited the tower hours before the attack, when it was damaged but not yet completely destroyed.
Israel bombed this building in central Beirut, saying Hezbollah had millions of dollars in cash buried beneath it. You can see this car completely flipped over by the blast.
We saw no signs of any money, but if it was there, it's now buried beneath the rubble. Nearby, another attack. A journalist with a Hezbollah-affiliated outlet and his wife, among 10 civilians killed, authorities say. The Committee for the Protection of Journalists saying the attack showed complete disregard for civilian life and the safety of journalists. And today, a reporter with Russian state television wounded by an Israeli strike on a bridge in southern Lebanon. The IDF denies targeting journalists and says it gave explicit warnings ahead of the bridge strike. More than 1,000 people have now been killed in Lebanon, authorities say, as Israel expands its ground offensive against Hezbollah, aiming to stop the militants firing over the border. But it's issued sweeping evacuation orders across South Lebanon, raising fears Israel plans to displace civilians ahead of a long-term occupation, like the one it carried out here throughout the 1980s and 90s. More than 1 million Lebanese have now been displaced by Israel's offensive. We met some of them in a school-turned-shelter in Beirut. Fatma Al-Omar brought her 4 children here after nearly a week on the street. She tells us their family home was destroyed in the bombing. Alison Oman-Lawi is the country director for the World Food Program.
These are just people like us that were sleeping in their beds and weren't looking for a handout, weren't looking for other people to be responsible, but all of a sudden, they have a crisis and they need support.
A crisis that grows more urgent with every passing day.
The reality of war. Ref Sanchez, thank you so much. And some breaking news to tell you about as that body of a missing University Alabama student has been found in Spain. Authorities, they just confirmed the body, which was found off of a Barcelona beach, is of 20-year-old James Jimmy Gracie, who went missing early Tuesday morning. Molly Hunter has more from Barcelona.
Tonight, after a frantic 3-day search, police recovered the body of 20-year-old Jimmy Gracie from the water off this popular Barcelona beach. His friends tell NBC News this is where they last saw him partying at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, and nothing seems suspicious.
Hi.
Since then, they've been putting up posters in hopes someone may have seen him.
This is Shoko. It is super popular with young tourists who come here to Barcelona. And I just want to show you how close it is to the beach and to the water here.
It is. Scuba divers, boats, and helicopters have been scouring the area, desperately searching for clues.
We're on the beach now about 300 feet from where Shoko is, and police tell NBC News that Jimmy Gracie's body was recovered just off the coast this afternoon.
The Chicago area native, a junior at the University of Alabama, traveled to Barcelona for spring break to visit friends studying abroad. Gracie's aunt, Beth Marin O'Reilly, spoke to NBC News last night.
I think everybody would want a brother or a nephew like Jimmy. He's a great kid. He's responsible. He's a leader.
Today, members of Gracie's fraternity, Theta Chi, rallied together. The president of the chapter, who's also in Barcelona, described Gracie as a beloved brother and a man of upstanding character.
And earlier today, Jimmy's family released a statement saying they were grateful for the kindness and concern that people showed their family during this incredibly difficult time, and thank people for holding their family in their thoughts and prayers.
Molly Hunter, thank you. And now to the big news in the world of reality TV. Right before the latest Bachelorette was about to start airing, ABC has now canceled this season after this newly released video from 2023 shows this season's Bachelorette, Taylor Frankie Paul, assaulting her partner at the time. Now, you might have already seen that video posted by TMZ, and according to court documents, Paul hit her several times and then threw things like metal chairs, which might have inadvertently hit her 5-year-old daughter, who was in the room as all this was happening. Paul was then charged with assault. She was charged with criminal mischief, domestic violence in the presence of a child that year, and then she pled guilty to aggravated assault. Now, ABC's parent company Disney tells us that in light of that video, they are not moving forward with Paul's season of The Bachelorette just days before it was set to be released. Here with more on this is our very own Liz Kreutz. Liz, the video is absolutely shocking. The cancellation, very surprising, and yet maybe not so surprising to those that watch the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah, what's interesting about this, Gotti, is that people who are fans of Taylor Frankie Paul and of this show know about this incident. This is an incident that goes back to 2023 that was well documented and a big storyline on the first season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So people know about it. I think what's so shocking right now is to see the video and to see how her 5-year-old daughter was there in the room. You can hear her crying on the video. It's very disturbing. We do know that the charges at the time, some of them were dismissed, including the domestic violence in the presence of a child and child abuse. Those were dismissed. She did take a plea deal for aggravated assault. A spokesperson for her just responding to the video, said that it omits context and blamed the ex, Dakota Mortensen, saying it is part of his never-ending, desperate, attention-seeking, destructive campaign to harm Taylor.
Wow. And we're watching all this video. We're watching promos for the season. And it's just a reminder, this has all been shot. It's all done. Yeah. It's all edited. It was about to be released, and they're pulling this. Now that ABC has to backtrack, cancel this season at the very last minute. I mean, what's the fallout looking like?
Yeah, this was a huge thing. I mean, the ABC has been promoting this now for 6 months. This is one of their biggest franchises, one of their most popular shows, and then they were having this, cross promotion with one of their other major shows on Hulu, with one of these mega influencer stars. All of this was gearing up to Sunday night's premiere. And then just this week, another report surfaced. Utah police are investigating a second domestic violence incident between the two of them. That led to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives reportedly halting production, and also Cinnabon, a sponsor of The Bachelorette, cutting ties with Paul and with the show, saying no longer aligns with their values. So all of this was bubbling up, and part of this pressure on ABC. And we'll just say that Taylor Frankie Paul has not herself said anything yet, but a rep for her did give us a statement, and I'll just show you part of it, saying Taylor is very grateful for ABC's support as she prioritizes her family's safety and security after years of silently suffering extensive mental and physical abuse, as well as threats of retaliation. Taylor is finally gaining the strength to face her accuser and taking steps to ensure that she and her children are protected from any further harm.
Wow. And again, just watching these, I mean, from boats to private jets to, remote locations. What's going to air on Sunday?
I don't think we know. That's a huge question. This is millions and millions of dollars. That's probably at loss here for ABC, a major show Sunday night. We'll see what they do.
Yeah. Liz Kreutz, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, a doctor accused of trying to kill his wife while hiking in Hawaii last year, now standing trial for attempted murder. The latest from court. Plus, countdown to liftoff. NASA's Artemis 2 is starting its trek once again to the launch pad in preparation for that historic mission around the moon. More on that later this hour, so stay tuned.
All right, 90.
You are the best. Man, the promo video, I hadn't seen the promo video. That's so much money. Yeah.
It's insane.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild
and
stuff.
Usually they don't have, this is like because the show needed a reboot.
Right.
This was like 6 months.
Yeah, so
they've been hammering.
and they're going so hard on the reality of it all, and yeah, that's crazy.
But they finished shooting with her in early December. I remember thinking, this is crazy. They're waiting till end of March.
Yeah.
This girl's volatile.
Yeah. Wow.
So they should have aired
I
it
know.
the second they were done filming.
We'll see ya. See you at Viv's. Okay. That was fascinating. We got Dana on set? Okay. So then Dana's going to be on set in a little bit. It's season 84. Who cares? Okay. I've watched, I think, 2 seasons in my life. Let's see. Thanks for sharing the live stream. Hiking nurse chat.
About 30.
Yeah. Hello. How's it going? Good to see you. I know, quite the turnover.
Thank you.
All right. Now we got Dana in the house.
Hi, everybody.
Dana knows about the chat.
This is a crazy one.
Yeah, this is the syringe was wow.
Well, that's the thing. They never found a syringe, so.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some headlines that we are watching tonight. Sources tell NBC News that James Comey has been subpoenaed in the Trump-appointed prosecutor's grand conspiracy probe. That's the investigation into accusations of Russian interference back in the 2016 presidential elections. Now, remember, there was an attempt to prosecute the former FBI director in a separate matter last year, but that case was dismissed. An attorney for Comey has not commented yet on this subpoena. And there are now plans in California to change the name of Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day. State lawmakers introduced a bill today after those accusations of sexual abuse by Chavez were brought to light. They came after a New York Times investigation that alleged Chavez sexually abused 2 girls and raped his farm labor ally, Dolores Huerta. The Live Nation CEO was the star witness today in federal court as the antitrust case between the ticket giant and the DOJ continues. Michael Rapino called remarks of his employees that they made about robbing fans blind, disgusting. Those messages were shared last week during the trial, detailing 2 employees talking about hiking up fees and parking costs. And a jury has ruled in favor of rapper Afro Man in a lawsuit brought by Ohio deputies over a music video he created using footage from a 2022 raid on his home. The deputies sought millions in damages, claiming the videos damaged their reputations, and they opened their families up to harassment. But the jury found that Afro Man was not liable and that the videos were protected by free speech. And there was this fiery chain reaction in Harris County, Texas. This RV fire quickly spread to a nearby container packed with fireworks. Authorities say the fireworks started to explode, and it started a gas fire that moved onto a wooded area, and that threatened nearby railroad tracks. Crews from several departments responded and contained the fire, and no one was hurt. And turning now to the case of a doctor accused of trying to kill his wife on a Hawaii hiking trip last year. Opening statements in that trial started today. Gerhard Cohen has been charged with second-degree attempted murder, and he's accused of beating his wife, Ariel, before allegedly trying to push her off a hiking trail. Ariel was badly hurt but survived the alleged attack and filed for divorce 2 months after the incident. Gerhard has been held without bail since his arrest, and he has pleaded not guilty to those charges. Let's bring in Dana Griffin now to talk a little bit more about today's opening statements. So Dana, let's back up a little bit here. What are the allegations on the hiking trail? How did this all start?
So this is an attempted murder case where they claim this doctor tried to kill his wife with a rock. There's also claims of syringes, him trying to stick her with the syringe. And today, it was just interesting to kind of hear them lay out the case. We heard opening statements today. The prosecution went first, essentially saying that he tried to kill her because she may have been cheating on him. Well, the defense says that is not at all the case and that this was not planned and that she was the one who actually tried to hit him.
And it looked like things got a little bit emotional, right, during court today. Any takeaways from the opening statements?
So my biggest takeaway is that they are claiming that she is the one who tried to hit him with the rock, because that was the big part of this, that he attacked her with a rock, hit her multiple times. There's a little bit of conflicting stories going on here because the witnesses, or I think the 911, there was a statement given to police where she said that he hit her 10 times, and the defense says it was only 2. And once she stopped fighting him is when he stopped hitting her with this rock. We heard from 2 witnesses today who said that when they approached, they felt this uneasiness, like they saw him on top of her. They didn't see what started or what led up to this altercation, but that he made them feel unsafe. And so they started backing up. He did let his wife go with these women, but they were also kind of feeling a little fearful. Right. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see if we hear from them. And are we going to be hearing from Ariel? Are we going to be hearing from the wife?
Sure are. She is expected to testify Tuesday. She is going to be the star witness here. She survived this vicious attack. There were some really graphic photos shown today in court where her head is just, you know, covered in blood. So she went through a really traumatic ordeal, and we'll get to hear in her own words what led up to this and what really happened on that trail.
Dana Griffin, thank you so much for covering this for us. Yeah. And coming up, we've got team coverage as Artemis 2, that rocket starts the slowest part of its journey to the moon. That's the crawl to the launch pad before hopefully blasting off in 2 weeks with astronauts headed for a flyby of the moon. That is ahead, so stay tuned.
Claire, 90.
All right. Oh. All right. Uh-oh. It's doing that thing. Thank you so much. Let's see. She says bye. Ultra front wide camera. Let's see if this will reset it here. No, for some reason it's zooming in. Anyway, sorry you guys have to look at this.
About
crazy
1 minute
zoomed in mug.
Position C.
Artemis is coming in too. Oh, there's Lisa. All right, and now we're back. Now we're back to normal size. Ms. K, bye. Hi. Easy lock, both in the room. It takes 2 weeks to transport the rocket to the launch pad. It doesn't take 2 weeks to transport. It's moving about 4 miles an hour. It takes a couple of days, but it's going to take 2 weeks for everything to get set.
30 away, got it.
30 seconds, and we're over here.
Right here.
All right, here we go. Space time. Space time. Step to the left here. We got astronaut Leroy Chow right after this. Hey, welcome back. We might be one step closer to becoming interplanetary. Well, we've got NASA's Artemis 2 rocket starting its 4-mile trek to the launch pad. Here is a view, a live view, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is live at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And you can see the 322-foot tall SLS rocket, topped with that Orion crew capsule. That's going to be carrying those 4 astronauts on a 10-day mission in space as early as April 1st. This is going to be the first crewed mission around the moon in more than 50 years. And after 2 wet dress rehearsals, which are like launch day walkthroughs, NASA found some hydrogen leaks and helium issues, but they're saying that the spacecraft is now good for flight. And there's not going to be another wet rehearsal. So this will be the flight path of the mission. It's going to orbit Earth, then loop around the far side of the moon, which could be the farthest humans have ever gone out into space. Let's bring in NBC's Aaron Gilchrist, who's monitoring all this as well. Aaron, what are we looking at? I was trying to get a look and see if SLS has started moving. Is it moving right now?
So we don't think it started moving yet. We know it was a little bit delayed. They were supposed to start this rollout at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern time, and they seem to be a few minutes behind schedule. But, you know, the reality is it's going to be moving so slowly that unless you actually sit and watch it for a while, you wouldn't probably notice that the rocket is moving. It's 11 million pounds that we're looking at moving across 4 miles from one side of the Kennedy Space Center to the other, from the vehicle assembly building where you're seeing that live picture right now, out to the launch pad. And the crawler, as they call it, the transporter, is it moves at about 1 mile an hour. Obviously, you don't want to hit a bump or a crack or anything in the road and have an accident with this piece of equipment, because it is a central part of such a special mission as you think about it. You noted that this is going to be a 10-day flight around the moon that this crew of 4 astronauts is going to be taking potentially as soon as April 1st. We know that the crew went into quarantine yesterday, and this rollout is happening today, again, as you noted, for a second time, after they were able to address a helium concern that they had after the last wet dress rehearsal. That went off without a hitch, but later they were able to discover there was a helium pressurization issue that they have since fixed and replaced a couple of other parts too, just to make sure the newest possible equipment is on the rocket as it's ready to roll out to the launch pad and then take off to that trip to the moon, Gotti. And as folks are looking at this picture inside the assembly building, you're seeing the orange part there, the top of the rocket, and then the white part, most of it, is the crew capsule. You may be able to see the NASA logo and the ESA, the European Space Agency logo there as well.
Yeah, very tight quarters when you consider you're going to be up there for 10 days. So you said that there's not going to be another wet dress rehearsal, right? What is the level of confidence right now? Is it 100%? Because, I mean, the last time they did the rehearsals, that's when they found the problems with the helium leaks, right?
Yeah, you're right. And NASA feels pretty confident. That we heard from the folks who are in charge of this mission last week. They held a news briefing, and they feel pretty confident, more than pretty confident, that this is going to be a go mission. Everybody involved in the conversations about this said, yes, we are ready to go. During their readiness, their flight readiness review that happened before we heard from the mission managers last week. And so they believe that that April 1st launch possibility in the evening is going to be a very real possibility. But of course, when NASA schedules a flight like this, and quite frankly, there hasn't been one like this in more than 50 years. But when they schedule these missions, they make sure that they have several opportunities to get off the ground in case there is any little issue that pops up. They want to make sure that it is as safe as possible before they take off. So the first opportunity is April 1st, and then there's another one on the 2nd, and several other days in April as well, Gadi. There were some questions in this last briefing about some of the risk involved here. It is an incredibly risky mission to send people on a rocket into space and then to send them even farther out to the moon, Gadi. And so there's some risk involved here for sure.
Yeah, it sure is. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you so much for watching this for us. Let's bring in retired NASA astronaut Leroy Chow, who knows a lot about that risk. He also climbed on top of one of our spacecraft and blasted off into space with NASA. He's also the author of the upcoming book, Dinner with an Astronaut, which I cannot wait to read. Leroy, please send me a copy ASAP. NASA says, you know, it's the same thing that I just asked our friend there. We're not going to see another wet dress rehearsal from this time around, but those of us that watch this, you think like the wet dress rehearsal was crucial in finding the issues with some of the helium leaks. Are they sure they don't want to do it this time?
Well, yes, because it was they had the wet dress rehearsal not that long ago. They identified some issues, took care of those issues, and they did some subsequent more component level testing, and they're confident that they've got their arms around it. So they're ready to go. And I think with pretty high confidence it's going to go this time on hopefully April 1st.
All right, so all systems hopefully go. They've got the rocket systems. They've also got the human systems. Those astronauts are in quarantine right now, just praying that no one gets sick. Everything is going to be fine. But you've been on a crew before. What goes through the minds of astronauts before they hurl off into space?
Well, it's more excitement at this point. I mean, long ago, astronauts that are getting ready to go fly have already done the risk-reward calculation. They've decided it's certainly worth it to go. The biggest question mark on this mission is the heat shield. Of course, Artemis 1 came back 3 years ago with a lot more damage to the heat shield than was expected. NASA spent those 3 years doing a lot of analyses, some testing, simulations. They redid the trajectories to minimize the heating. And so they're confident they have their arms around it. And frankly, no mission is without risk, but I would get on that flight if it were me without hesitation. So I think they're going to be going off on their adventure very soon.
And I would be stowing away in your luggage. I do have to ask, though, it's been over 50 years since we've sent people to the far side of just into space near the moon. We're going to be going further, hopefully, with this one. Is there more to learn scientifically on the backside, or is this really more just like testing the new tech that we have to get us to the moon and then beyond?
Right. The main purpose of this mission is to fully test the Orion spacecraft with the crew on board. Artemis 1 launched a year ago and checked everything out, but now we've got a crew on board. You're going to fully check out the life support system, the thermal control system, everything else, the comm system, and make sure that the spacecraft is ready to actually go and do a landing mission, hopefully in the next few years. And so this is an important first step. It's very much like Apollo 8, right? Apollo 8 went around the moon. And you could argue that Apollo 8 actually did more because they actually did some burns and circularized around the moon for a few orbits before doing a burn to come back. This is a free return trajectory. It's very much like Apollo 13 in that they're going to use the moon's gravity to swing them around and pull them back towards Earth. But not to diminish their mission, they are going to be, going farther than any astronauts have ever gone from the Earth. And again, the heat shield is the critical test.
Yeah, heat shield and that lunar slingshot. It will be fun to watch. Leroy Chow, thank you so much for being with us. And now for March Madness is I don't know, your bracket busted yet? Because we are a half a dozen games into the first full day of March Madness. Millions are watching. They are betting. There's this one casino industry group that says Americans are going to be betting more than $3 billion on the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. That's $400 million more than last year. But as more states legalize gambling, a lot more people are getting hooked, too, including kids. And the consequences can be dangerous as they find ways to skirt some of the rules meant to protect them. Sam Brock spoke with one man who started betting way back in middle school and says the country is confronting a massive problem.
Kurt Freudenberg remembers the rush of placing bets.
It's just like the most insane dopamine rush. It's like, it's I can compare it to like crack cocaine. It's like ridiculous.
An addiction the San Francisco native says started at 11 years old, gambling first with online casino games like blackjack or roulette before escalating to thousands of dollars on sports from the NBA and NFL to horse and dog racing.
How restrictive did the addiction become in your day-to-day life?
I was only thinking about gambling and participating in gambling activities 24/7.
His life spiraling out of control. Freudenberg says he ignored showers and spent hours inside, with his low point flunking out of school twice and spending 10 months in rehab. The 23-year-old says he was one of many young adults addicted to gambling and contemplating self-harm during college.
Have you experienced that among anyone you know or ever felt suicidal ideation?
I was suicidal most times after losing money. Going to $0, I was suicidal most times. I never had a plan or acted on it, but I was like, man, I wish I was dead. I wish I never woke up in the morning.
Freudenberg's mom, Kim, was in the dark about his addiction for years.
Their brain has just been completely hijacked by gambling.
Now she runs a support group called Parents Standing Together, calling for stronger guardrails to protect children.
They're clearly not strong enough because kids are accessing it, right? So like, I do appreciate the safeguards that are there, but we all need to really realize it's not enough.
Online sports betting is currently legal in 31 states and D.C. You have to be either 18 or usually 21 years old to open an account with a sports book, depending on the state. Users must have accounts that match their name, address, social security number, and bank accounts. But in NBC News' conversations with high school students and former gamblers, kids who want to gamble sometimes find a way around those rules. Saul Malik certainly did.
I mean, I know some kids who just, they'll have like an older sibling, or if they know someone, there's one kid in the grade who knows someone and they have an account, and then all the other guys just go through that person.
Today, he speaks to young adults about his own experience.
This high-stakes wager was for a whopping $1.50. That doesn't sound like a lot of money. It's not until it's your last $1.50.
And cautionary tales after accruing a $25,000 gambling debt and having one of his bookie friends actually show up at his doorstep.
He had talked to my dad and just basically said Saul owes the book whatever it was, $2,000 or whatever, and when's he going to pay it?
It's unclear exactly how many kids bet online, but one recent survey says 30% of 11 to 13-year-old boys and more than 40% of 14 to 17-year-old boys gambled in the last year. One of the largest sports books, DraftKings, told NBC News they blocked 1.4 million accounts nationally in 2025 where the user's identity couldn't be verified. Though the company didn't specify how many of those accounts were underage, they also deploy a team of dozens of people looking for irregularities and keeping minors off the platform.
That's really at the heart of it, where responsible gaming starts. The states have legalized sports betting in many jurisdictions, and they've told us what the legal age to, make a bet is, and that those are the rules that we follow. There is no place for underage people on our app.
Malik says early intervention and identifying behavior is critical.
Social media's promotion of it, how it's become really a common talking point for friend groups.
For Kim Freudenberg, she sees everyone, companies, families, states, and gamblers playing a vital role in fighting addiction.
I think it's a shared responsibility, right? And in our programming, like my son goes to Gamblers Anonymous, they take full responsibility for their actions. I take it for mine, and then the industry can take it for theirs.
And her son, Kurt, wants to be a part of the solution now, too, studying to be a sports gambling researcher.
They want to be successful, and they think that that's a quick and fast way to get rich.
A new kind of gamble, betting on himself to keep others on the right path.
Wow, fascinating. Sam Brock, thank you so much. And still to come, we are chatting with the man who used ChatGPT to develop a code that turned into a cancer vaccine for his sick pup. Remarkably, that pup is doing much, much better. We're going to talk to him right after this. All right. Now we're picking up. Okay, we got to do a pickup, and then I got to go because we've got an important dinner to get to. Yeah, sounds like, all right, we got to go. Asta, we'll see you guys here on Friday, tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat a lot more tomorrow. See you guys.